Hello, welcome to Cherry Bekaert's GovCon podcast, where we discuss current government contracting trends, compliance matters, and best practices to guide federal contractors forward. My name is Eric Poppe. I'm a managing director with Cherry Bekaert, and with me today is Christine, a senior manager and leads our Uninet practice here at Cherry Bekaert and is part of the Government Contract Services Group. Christine, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Eric.
So today, I know we're going to be really diving into ERP systems a little bit and talking through how to, if you're a company that's growing or going through a period of change, and you're thinking about, choosing a new ERP, what are some considerations to pick the right one for you? But before we really jump into that, do you just want to give a quick background on yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm Christine DeYuliis. As you mentioned, I have been in the GovCon industry for more than a couple dozen years. About 6 years ago, I decided to bring in my accounting information systems degree and was Uninet certified. And so now I bring both my GovCon and Uninet expertise to growing companies to help them develop a foundation with a strong ERP system and just really any assistance they need as they grow.
Well, first off, go Hokies. I know you're a fellow Hokie. And with that, you and I, all we do is work with government contractors every day. And I feel like ERPs and accounting systems is always a topic that comes up. And a lot of times clients are asking us questions of like, hey, we're on QuickBooks. We've been on QuickBooks. When should we migrate to a new ERP? Or we'll hear things from the other end saying we're on this system or that system, and we're having these big pain points. We can't get our reports right, or, whatever the reason. Should we consider moving to an ERP, a new ERP system? So I guess just to start us off, what are some of those initial considerations that someone or a company should think about when they're thinking about jumping to a new ERP?
Great question. I always think to, as you mentioned, look through your current processes. What is working well for you? What is not working well for you? What are strengths? What are you doing manually that can be automated? We are all, as accountants, background with accountants, we're all comfortable with Excel spreadsheets, but that's not efficient, and it's not a great way to share information. And so what are we doing that we can automate? I also, with this, as we're looking at this, you really want to ensure that you have all the potential stakeholders of your current and future software system. So it's your executive team, it is your contracts, operations, project managers, HR, definitely accounting and finance. Make sure that you get all of those folks, insight into what their pain points, what are they looking for. They also may have knowledge about what compliance you need is coming up, will you either have to comply with today or is coming up in the future, that you're going to want to make sure that your system can support.
So when you talk about like compliance, are you talking about, more of like HR compliance, accounting compliance, GovCon compliance? Is there anything in particular that you're thinking of, or is it kind of everything?
I really think everything. Definitely, does it have controls and some sort of internal controls that could be built into the system? Whatever your industry specific compliance is. In the GovCon, we have DCAA compliance, we have FAR and CAS, and can that be built in? You may have purchasing compliance. Your system may need to be compliant to pass a purchasing audit. Whatever those compliance is, and it may not be that that your ERP system is going to meet every compliance system or every compliance reporting requirement, but can it capture the data in a way that you can report out for workers' comp under HR, or for folks who are on FMLA, and you need to be able to capture how many hours they've already recorded to FMLA this year to keep them within compliance under the Fair Labor, within the HR compliance. I shouldn't say those.
No, you're good.
Can the system capture data and report it in a way that you can then meet any or all of the compliance requirements across your business?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it is a lot of data in, data out, and understanding what's that framework that what you need to be doing and and how can you get your system to go there? Because, you mentioned DCAA, and we've seen systems established that are, marketed towards government contractors that have been deemed inadequate by DCAA for, lack of proper controls or approvals or something not turned on or not being utilized fully. But then you hit the DOL piece and some of like the SCA reporting, if you have Davis-Bacon, FMLA, and PTO and those items, and that really integrates to some of those ancillary systems that might feed the ERP or touch it, between payroll, credit cards, banking, and finding a solution that kind of fits your current needs, but it has also the scalability to work with you as you grow. It's definitely, multiple pieces. So is there anything, from a features and functions standpoint that companies should consider when they're looking at maybe some of these other software bolt-ons or process-based? I'm thinking like if there's anything like inventory or manufacturing or any thoughts there?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, inventory, manufacturing, purchasing, forecasting, planning, earned value management. Those are all areas that you need to look at your current state and also as you grow to see what do you need in the system, and is it going to be able to meet what you need, whether that purchasing is just of capturing your subcontractor work, or whether you actually need to capture materials or have a supply chain and inventory, all those different pieces. It's really looking to see what do you need, what pieces do you need, and then I always say have your wish list, have some great questions for the ERP, the different folks from ERP are coming and demo, but really look and see what's most important to you and your company.
Kind of sounds like buying a house. We'll have your wish list and kind of like your haves,
yes, exactly.
Do you have any thoughts? Because I feel like we always get questions like, "Hey, when should I start thinking about a new ERP system?" And what would you say to a company who comes and asks you that question?
Great question, because a lot of times folks come to us after they've had this big significant growth and they feel like, oh, now it's the time. I typically recommend, you have to look at your cost benefit analysis. But if a company is stable, they've got current work and they're looking that they're going to be growing, whether it's through acquisition, they have a new contract award, they're adding a new operation. If you can go and get on your new ERP system before that significant growth, you're going to save a lot of time, effort, both converting the data, bringing that data in, on training. I think it is best to kind of scale up to a new ERP system before the growth, just so that you can focus. Then you already have the system in place, and then you're just bringing the new projects, resources into the system that's already there. And really, you're going to know when it's time based on the pain points. How frustrated are you with not being able to report out of your current system? Do all the stakeholders, are they able to look at and get their own, are they able to go and get their own reports? Or are you constantly having to push reporting out to them? Do controls, maybe you don't have controls in place, so you've got an audit, or maybe you're going to go into a new market, or anticipate a GSA schedule, or any of those things where your current ERP system or your current accounting system is not going to allow efficient processing. It's definitely time to look at a new system.
You make a good point there, because a lot of times, and I'm typically more on the compliance side, is compliance and strategy and kind of forward pricing aspects. And that's what I think, is we help, you and I help a lot of companies kind of navigate that small to mid to large yellow brick road. And with that, we talk a lot that use your systems as a springboard to help with the growth. You never want to be trying to rush to do an ERP system after you won that, new, multi-million-dollar cost plus contract that also has an international presence, and you're trying to fix QuickBooks on the back end while migrating to a Deltek or a Uninet or some other ERP, and you're bringing in, you're doing multiple invoices, tons of invoices each month, and doing with all these new reporting requirements. You really want to have that there for the growth, to help keep the growth and have clean reporting, versus kind of building the airplane while you fly after you want it. Because I feel like a lot of times companies are, from a system standpoint, are thinking about, and it's very important, the cash flow piece, and they're worried about the cash outlay because it is a big investment, going back to my joking housing analogy earlier.
Yep.
But it does give you the ability to grow into it and to really help springboard up for that growth. So from like a data perspective, from your experience, are there any tips and tricks that you can talk about when it comes to migrating data from one system to the new ERP?
I definitely recommend reviewing and seeing how clean your data is. We have a lot of we've had clients, and they'll come in and they know that this area that hasn't been reconciled, or this hasn't been reconciled, or maybe their project reports or their project ledger doesn't tie to their general ledger. We really recommend that you take some time and get some data remediation, get that data cleaned up. It may be that if it's historic data and you don't really need to have timely access to it, you could bring it in as a lump sum at the end of last year. You could bring a lump sum in at the end of last year and then kind of bring in your current transactions for the current year. But definitely look, see, disclose to your teammates, talk about what is not accurate. So you don't bring that, I'll say incorrect data, but maybe an unreconciled data into a new system.
So Christine, if there's a company that is looking to invite companies or ERP software providers in to do a demo, say it's Deltek or Uninet or NetSuite or whomever, do you have any advice on how to prepare for that?
Absolutely. I recommend bringing that wish list. You've met with your stakeholders, you know your pain points, you know what areas you may want to automate from a manual process, what information you need visibility into, improved reporting, whatever it may be, as well as the features. And know with features too, it can be a staged or a phased approach. So you may, bring in project management and finance, and then in the future add in purchasing and portfolio. But really look at today and kind of where your company is headed, and know what you want. A lot of times, when they're providing a demo, it may not be specific to your entity. So definitely have questions that are unique to you and what's important to you, what's important to your stakeholders. And then definitely the compliance considerations that are unique to you and your entity.
And then one thing. I was just going to add real quick, and apologize for cutting you off there. Like, also asking those the companies providing the demos, who are their trusted partners, and do they have to use some type of bolt-on for payroll or for inventory management or something along those lines, and who are those other potential vendors that you might have to bring on if they don't have if you have to use a bill.com, or just some examples there. So what were you going to say? I apologize there.
No, not a problem. The last thing I was going to say is when you get the ERP has been implemented, how will you be able to define success? When you think about, I want this to be a successful ERP system, I want this to be a successful implementation, what is it going to take? What are the key factors? And just know that as when you're talking, because that can also lead to great questions of, not just where you're currently at, but where you're headed.
That is a really good point. And with that, we're actually up at time today. So Christine, I want to say thank you for joining me today on the podcast, where we talked about, how to select the right ERP. And if anyone has any questions that's listening about ERP selections, Deltek, Uninet, ERP systems in general, please feel free to reach out to Christine and myself and the GovCon consulting team here at Cherry Bekaert. Happy to be a resource. And with that, Christine, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Talk to you soon.